Okay. Class sets. Basalt Blooded Warrior. This is the new DK set. Fixed an issue where this set could be influenced by Yorvold's guidance, creating situations where its effects persisted through bar swapping. Oh, I see. Since that would make it more than 20 seconds. It will no longer interact at all with duration extending effects. I see. So, okay. That's fine. Monolith of Storms. This set's visual effects now properly differentiate based on their source, so enemy effects look different from your own effects. Really? This is it for the class sets. I really hope they're still working on these, because this is not enough. It's week 3 of the PTS now. This is not even close to enough to these sets. I really hope they're still working on these. If you guys are not still working on these, they're at ZOS. I'd love to hear why you guys think that these are good sets and these will be interesting for players. Obviously, the DK set has been kind of a universal home run, but outside of that, they need a lot of work, so I hope they're not done. All right, mythic items. Esoteric Environment Greaves. Fix an issue where the set could fail to properly mitigate damage of attacks made by certain monsters, particularly in Endless Archive. Okay, some bug fixes with that. Maybe some people are using that in there to help mitigate damage. I'm not sure. Tales of Tribute. I'm sorry, I don't know anything about that. I'm gonna skip it. All right, here we go. Endless Archive adjustments. Here we go. Let's see what they've done. Adjusted the difficulty scaling in Endless Archive. Arc 1 is now less difficult, while further arcs increase in difficulty more quickly. This affects stage monsters, psycho bosses, and Thoat. The goal of this change is to address 2 pieces of feedback. Arc 1 was too difficult for the intended audience, and it took too long for experienced players to reach difficult content. Now you'll have an easier time with Arc 1, but the monsters ramp in difficulty much sooner. Let's see what else they have to say before I really comment on this. Armory assistants are now correctly disabled within Endless Archive, matching other leaderboard content. I think this is a big mistake, and I'm really actually upset to see this, considering there is no time on the Endless Archive. There's no timer. So all this does is make you spend more time doing things that you can already do, because you can port out and do all of the things you can do with an Armory assistant. Or, I mean, you could port out and use the Armory assistant in your home and port back in. And guess what? You can push just as far, get just as high of a score, all of that stuff. It's just going to take longer. The Armory assistant gives no advantage for score in the Endless Archive because there's no timer. So all this does is squash quality of life, not having to port out and back in, because people that push really far into this will port out and back in to change things, because there are certain things you kind of need to, if that's your goal. This is a terrible change. They should not have disabled this. I'm personally with you guys. Days, I think it should be enabled for leaderboard content that does have timers too. that's a different discussion, but this doesn't make sense here with this type of content for them to disable it. Yes, it is leaderboard content, but the whole reason it doesn't, according to them, that it doesn't make sense for other leaderboard content is because those are all timed. And so with the assistant, you can save time, thus giving you an advantage if you have the assistant versus if you don't. It doesn't give you that in the Endless Archive. It just saves you your sanity from having to pour it out and in over and over. This is a really bad change, and I hope that they rethink this. What's the point of selling an assistant? Like, yeah, and if it's, I mean, if you want me to come out from the other angle, think of how many more Armory slots people will buy if you let them use it in here. I was already planning on getting a couple more because I had some ideas for it. I'm not going to now. I'll just pour it out and take care of what I need to take care of in somebody's house if I need to change my Munda stone or something and pour it back in. But that's a pain in the ass when we have an Armory assistant that can do that. And I'm not gonna be able to get a better score by using it. I'm just whatever. Y'all understand. Y'all get it. I'm going in circles now, but this is a terrible change. All right, you'll no longer have a chance to erroneously lose extra threads when suffering a defeat in Endless Archive. Okay, that's good. It's just the bug fix. The Ghostly Gratitude unlock now correctly applies to the Bountiful Resources verse. Okay. You will no longer get stuck pending a resurrection when your last thread is removed. Added text to the description of Desto Zuno's safety net to clarify the additional threads of fate are applied to future runs. That is good. That was very disappointing to unlock that in a very long run for 30,000 archival fortunes. This is the most expensive one. And it didn't add a thread. So, yeah, having that note there to let people know, hey, this is not going to add a thread to this run is good, because then maybe you'll want to spend your stuff on something else. Floyd was sharing my concern. Oh, I didn't see him. What you doing, bud? Hi. Hi. He's chilling. All books within the Endless Archive are now correctly assigned to collections. Portals to the Unknown. Heifel and Shaw's Cleaver Chops now make a sound in Heifel's Butchery. Ghosts of the Echoing Den now consistently explode, leaving a visible effect where they stood. Your characters now healed to full health and your stamina replenished once the Filer's Wing event ends. Hi, bud. He came up and looked at me in the camera. Oh, I'm sorry, Floyd. Yeah, I get comfy down here. Take a nap. You can once again use quick slot potions after completing the filers. Yeah, this was annoying. We had to pour it out and back in to use our potions because it was bugged. So, I mean, good bug fixes for sure. Verse options are now correctly filtered based on which verses you select in a previous stage. Verse options are now correctly filtered based on which verses you select in a previous stage. I'm not sure I understand what that means. Your character will no longer slide on the ground when closing a verse in Vision Selector without making a choice. Fix some punctuation on vision tooltips. Pestilent globs can now be used by werewolves. Maybe not the same verse twice in a row. That's kind of silly. Why not? All right. It's a little unclear what they mean though. Fix some punctuation on vision tooltips. Pestilent globs can now be used by werewolves. Stage monsters will now grow more powerful more quickly as you progress through the arcs. Adjusted the abilities and difficulty of many cycle bosses. Brace is now correctly applied in the Lord Warden encounter. Dark monoliths no longer expire prematurely in Zajhasa. They also need to just... like, that wasn't... oh, that's the ones you hide behind. Yeah, that's a good fix. But the curses go out way too frequently here. It's really annoying. Lunar platforms now have clearer visual effects indicating their active and inactive states. Cycle bosses no longer have a chance to appear back to back across arcs. That's probably good, just to give it a little more variety. If you just happen to RNG the same boss 2 arcs in a row. Companions knocked off the cycle boss platform will now correctly be teleported back to an available location. Yelnokren's death no longer has a chance to stall progression. His flame atronachs no longer form a pool of lava under death. He also can start, like, as soon as you port into Yelnokren, you can be in combat immediately. I ran into that. Like, I ported in and he was like... he just breathing fire. Like, okay, luckily I have like Swift Gale and all these strong buffs right now to just nuke them, but yeah, that was interesting. All right, Thoat. Master Malcast now immediately summons Thoat when you approach him upon entering the chapel. Adjusted power scaling, so she starts with less initial health and power, but increasing in difficulty more quickly as you progress arcs. What game is this? Super Mario Galaxy. I will say this is a win for more casual players that only plan on doing the Arc 1 for their daily. They've made that a bit easier, it looks like. This doesn't fix anything that people have been complaining about, though. It's still going to be hours and hours and hours for high-end runs. No way to save your progress. No way to skip ahead some based on previous accomplishments. I mean, it doesn't matter. They could make every enemy in Arc 1 die in one hit. There's still like a minimum time it's going to take to get through it because you're waiting on so many ad waves to spawn. And that's the problem. There's way too many ad waves and ad stages. That's it. And I don't know why they're not acknowledging that feedback is universal across pretty much every player that has come in here and done this. And they're saying that now it took too long for experienced players to reach difficult content. Well, that's not because the difficulty progression was not good. It was because it took too long, because there were too many ad packs, which is what everyone's been saying. So it's like, hey, let's make it get harder faster, but you're still going to get the same. So now, hypothetically, let's say what was Arc 10 is now Arc 5 or 6. Who knows what it actually is. But you're not getting previous Arc 10 rewards at Arc 5 or 6 now. So you're dealing with the Arc 10 difficulty at Arc 5 or 6, but still getting the old Arc 5 or 6 rewards. So now it's just more grindy. Oh, geez. I don't know why they do this. It's like they're so adamant to just do things in a different way from how players are saying needs to be done. They do this all the time. It's like players unanimously, all the players are saying there's too many ad packs. There's too many waves of ads. There's too many stages of ads. There's no rewards for the ads. You don't even get like the traditional trash loot from the ads. Like, where you might get some gold or like materials or like crap materials or whatever. Like, the ad packs are literally a waste of time. You get nothing from them. But at least in other content in ESO, the ad packs at least give you like some kind of loot. They're literally a waste of time in the Endless Archive. You get visions from the bosses, which last through your whole run. But from the ad pack rounds, you only get verses that last for the following stage. And then they're removed. So having less rounds changes nothing. Like, it's not like you end up with less overall buffs. Artificial player retention. Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying right before I started reading this. Right before I started the patch notes, I said, I hope that they adjust this based on what's better for the player, what makes the game more enjoyable and fun for the player, and not what will drive up metrics, i.e. player retention, because you have to now grind mindlessly to get anything unlocked, because the amount of rewards you receive on the low stages are so low, and they only start getting like where they come in at a reasonable rate once you push up into the really high arcs, which 99.9% of people aren't going to get to anyways, but especially not now that they push the difficulty up sooner without making the rewards go up. And not only did they do that, they made it harder faster, so you get less rewards for the level of difficulty of content that you're doing. They also upped the cost of the stuff that you purchase with the Archival Fortunes. They made the curated sets cost $15,000 instead of $10,000, and they upped all of the achievement locked account unlocks from 8,000 each to, there's 2 that are 10,000, there's 2 that are 25,000, and there's 1 that are 30,000. One that is 30,000. This is not addressing the feedback that players are giving at all. It's making it a worse piece of content, and it really makes me sad, because they are sitting on something that could be so good here. They're sitting on something that could be so good, so enjoyable, like a reason to get in there and like grind out some Archival Fortunes, because there's like good stuff to spend it on, and there's good content that you're doing along the way and getting it. But it's just so low. The rewards are so low and the cost of everything is so high that it's just going to feel like, oh, I'm not at all behind what they're doing here. This was like pretty much what I was fearing that I would run into with these patch notes. The one upside is for casual players that only want to do one arc anyways. It got a little easier. That's about it. That's kind of the one upside. Get it right, they're making things grindier and more expensive. Yeah, exactly. They're making it harder to get to the point where you get more rewards, and they increase the cost on everything. The cost increases were last week, but the higher difficulty for getting the same tier rewards is this week. The only positive benefit from all this is the bug fixes and the Arc 1 casual player benefit. For players that plan on pushing into the archive more, Arc 1 being easier won't really make it any faster. It's people were comparing it to Dragon Star in chat. That's exactly what it is. It's the time you're just essentially forced to go through each of the ad packs. They just go down super fast in Arc 1 anyways. That's not the issue. Where it's sitting now, you don't know how much Endless Archive you'll do outside of a few runs when it releases. You're originally hyped but kind of bummed now. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to run it when it comes out. I just think they have such an opportunity here to make this a really rewarding and fun piece of content, and they are ignoring the main complaints that their player base is giving them for some reason. Or maybe ignoring is the wrong word, but deciding that they are going to go with different solutions to the problems, and these solutions are not resolving the problems that the player base is having. If they want to come up with a different solution to the problems that we're having, and the solution's not the same as what the players are unanimously saying should be the solution, ultimately that is fine if that solution still resolves the problem just as well, right? But this doesn't at all. So if you can't find something that resolves it just as well or better, then why are you so against going with what the players are saying it needs to be done to make this more enjoyable? I don't understand it. Thank you, Tanis. I wish I understood the reluctance to increase rewards. It's like they're worried people will have too much fun too quickly. The reward structure in the entire game is already bad. Yeah. It's like, do they think people are just going to get like too much currency and be like, oh, I hate this place. I earned too many rewards. I'm never doing it again. Like, what? No, we want our time to feel like it's respected. That's what we want. And when you up the cost of everything and also make it harder to push into the tiers that give you more rewards, that doesn't feel like our time is respected at all. In fact, the opposite. Yeah, very disappointed in this week 3. Week 3 is historically supposed to be when they really get in there and respond to a lot of the feedback, when they make the most changes. This is just not it at all. End of the day, like I said before I started these patch notes, look at this change. Say, does this make the content better for the player or worse? Does this make it more enjoyable for the player or worse? Does it make it more rewarding for the player or less? The questions are really rather simple. And if you find yourself answering worse or less to those questions to meet certain metrics of player engagement or time you're hoping will get spent, like more time because there's more of a grind or whatever this is, you got to rethink it, because it's going to have long-term the opposite effect. People don't want to waste their time. There's too many fun things to go do. There's too many rewarding things to spend your time on to feel like something is trying to gyp you and trying to pull a fast one on you to give you less than you deserve. It's people are smarter than that. End of the day, people want their time to be respected, and the content is fun. This is good content. Endless Archive is fun. So if you respect people's time with this content, they will participate in it because it's good. I am giving you guys praise here. You designed something really cool. Like, I hate to be that guy, because I'm sure there are a lot of people working really hard there, and so I don't want to like I don't understand how we're on week 3 of the PTS and this is all we have here. Like I know there are people working their asses off right now during this PTS cycle, so I'm not trying to discount that. But what is going on as a whole with the organization, if this is all that's happened by week 3 in the PTS? Like, are the systems in place for like submitting changes and getting them approved, and like is there a bunch of bureaucracy that's getting in the way? Like I'm not saying people aren't working hard on it, because I know they are. Like I know several people that work there. But what is going on that week 3 this is all we have? Like I don't understand. Anyways, this was a very disappointing patch note, so sorry if I brought the room down a bit.